Imagine spending 2 years on a project, 2 years working all hours of the day, 2 years working late into the night, 2 years on a passion project, something that you know is so big and so important that it is going to make a difference in your community, that it's going to change the way people think. Well, that's exactly what our next guest did. Artist Fer Caggiano painted the portraits of 40 women of the Lowcountry over 2 years with her project, Like a Girl, Dare to Dream, and it's now on display at the City Gallery downtown.
This is the Voice of Charleston Women podcast, where you can meet like-minded, strong, independent, professional, and inspiring local women. This is Voice of Charleston Women.
Here she is now, Fer Caggiano, known as an artist, a feminist, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and the inspiration, the driving force behind Like a Girl, Dare to Dream. Fer, we are so happy to have you on the Voice of Charleston Women. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I have so many questions to squeeze in our short conversation that we have. So we are so grateful that you are here. But I guess, let's just start with right now. You are the talk of the town, right? You painted 40 women. You're on display downtown at the City Gallery. Everyone's buzzing about it. How does that make you feel right now?
I don't know. It's actually really awkward because I always see myself as like the backstage and someone that is not on the spotlight. I see the project from like an outsider point of view. Like I don't see, I look at the exhibition, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, but I don't think, oh, it's my work. So when people are talking about it, it's fun to know, people are super excited. I have people coming through that they leave honestly emotional, and they say this is so inspiring. It really touched my heart. So I am super happy. Just it's a strange feeling.
Right. I'm sure it is a strange feeling for you, but let's let the viewers or the listeners know. It's hard if you're just listening to this. You have to go to the website and you have to see these portraits because they're all stunning, but more than that, you can't just go to the website. You have to go to the gallery. You have to see them in person. But let's kind of backtrack. So what you did is you painted 40 women across the Lowcountry, right? From all different walks of life, different careers. And what was your goal? What day 2 years ago were you like, you know what, I'm going to create a bunch of work and I'm going to create 40 portraits? What made you want to do it?
Well, there were actually several factors of things that came together in a short period of time, from me being harassed in front of construction sites and worrying about my stepdaughter, I didn't want her to go through the same things. And then someone criticizing me by painting a nude. And I was like, well, I'm an artist. Nude's the very first subject in art. The very first piece is a Venus, and it's a nude torso. So I realized that people are criticizing me, not just, because of what I was painting, but also because I'm a woman. And they tried to tell me that there was no place for what I was doing in the Lowcountry because this is apparently supposed to be a conservative area. And I was like, well, you know what? You don't tell me what to paint and what not to paint. Mm-hmm. So that just triggered all these emotions. And I was like, I'm just going to paint what I want. And like myself, I think there's a lot of women there that need to have their voices heard. And I realized that I really wanted to paint women that are inspiring to other women, and especially to the younger ladies out there. So that's how it started.
Right. I can't believe, was it one person that was criticizing and saying you couldn't do this in the Lowcountry, or did several people say this?
It was one person, and then when I told other people, they kind of agreed with her. Huh. And I was
I ask specifically because I think it's a good lesson for those that are listening that, one person's opinion simply doesn't matter. Look, it was the fuel to your fire. Look what you did based on that one naysayer. So congrats to you. Where did you find 40 women? What was your process for selecting these women? And kind of walk us through, I know we can't discuss all 40, but some of the samples, what they've done, what they accomplished.
Well, it started out with a conversation with my publicist, Robin Niscarella. We had just met that day, and she came to my studio, and I showed her a piece that I had painted as a comeback to that criticism, which is a painting that a lot of people are aware of. It's one of me holding the finger, the middle finger, just kind of like, I'll paint what I want. Don't tell me what to do. That's that painting. But she came here for a completely different reason. But she saw the painting, and we got into that conversation. So I told her I was looking into painting inspiring women and being like putting a fundraiser together to support some associations. And she was like, well, I have the first association. It's Women in Aviation because she's involved with them. Mm-hmm. And then she gave me Allison, the helicopter pilot for the Navy. And so it started with that. And then Allison nominated a couple of other people, and some other people were nominated. And it just kind of like started moving. And Robin, I would tell her, I want someone in music. And then she would go and, she like, I almost drove the woman crazy, because I had like the really hard like request. And I said, like, I really want someone in sports. We don't have a woman in sports. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. Like the woman in sports, for instance, she's the officer Jean. And it's quite funny because I wasn't aware of this, but I knew her. She is the officer at Laurel Hill, where my son goes to school. So I knew she was the officer Jean, but then I saw like someone showed me like a video where she was leaving for training because she's an Olympic athlete. So she had gone to Brazil for the last Olympics, and now she's training for Tokyo. So I was like, oh my God, it was right under my nose and I wasn't aware. So it's been very interesting, like not a simple quest, but we got 40 amazing, very diverse women.
Right. And that's, when you said living right there under your nose, I think we kind of all felt like that walking through the gallery. Like I had no idea, or people I might have known peripherally, like I didn't know everything about them or what they'd accomplished. So it was inspiring, I think, for all of us. How was the
and that was,
process?
Sorry.
That's okay. I just want to know the painting process. You told me before it took you 2 years to do this.
Yes, it took me 2 years.
How many hours per painting? I'm sure it buried on each portrait, but like what was the workflow?
Oh, it's funny because like people expect every painting to work with the same time, with the same pace. And I'll say like Allison, because it was the first one and I still didn't know exactly what approach I wanted to take. It took me 6 months to finish her. It was really like I struggled with that. But then the other ones, like some took me a few days. So for each woman, I went and I met with them either in my studio or their workspace, and I photographed them. Of course, we have copyright reasons for that, so I need to be sure that I'm not using someone else's photos for their portraits. And then I would work in my studio and finish every portrait. Some people find it really bizarre, but at one point, if you walk in here, I have about 15 paintings happening at the same time. I go from one to the other and back, and it's like, it's a chaos here.
How did you do it? I mean, what are your work hours? Are you early morning, late at night? Because we need to mention too, during a big brunt of all of this, we were in the heart of the pandemic, if you will, and you were homeschooling on top of it.
Yes, I'll say I am not a morning person, so that's always a challenge because that's the time that usually my son is at school. So in the morning, I usually do the computer work and I try to paint in the afternoon. And then I was co-owner of the gallery downtown and I decided to quit so I would focus on the project. The month I quit, the pandemic hit and the kids were sent back home. So all the time that I had planned to put on the painting, suddenly I was homeschooling because, my youngest, he was only 6, he's 7 now. So I spent at least 7 months homeschooling him. Mm-hmm. And my working hours were absolutely crazy. After we're done with school, then I would try to paint and put him in bed and then try to come back to the studio and get something that was absolutely insane. I was sleeping, if I was lucky, 5 hours a night. It was really, really tough. But then, he got back to school and working hours got better. And I had planned like all this time frame. And I got the call from the City Gallery. After 1 year, I had sent my application. I was expecting a little bit of a notice. Mm-hmm. They said, we can hang you next month. And I still had 7 paintings to finish. So that was a challenge.
There's a little bit of like a yay and a little bit of like, oh my, I have to get cracking.
First I asked Anne, like the director of the City Gallery, I was like, any chance we can move a few months back? And she was like, no, it's now, leave it or take it, because, you know, the following shows are going to be group shows. You're the only solo we're doing right now. And I was like, okay, so I will take it. I'll make it happen. And, you know, when you have a deadline, I just think that you make it happen. So
right.
It did.
You made it happen when you had that reception for the women that you painted, and you watched them meet for the first time, because a lot of them didn't know each other. And when you watched people go into the gallery and see not only themselves, but see the entire display, what was that like?
Oh my God, like, oh, you saw me, I broke. I was so emotional. First, like, because I really wanted everyone to meet. I just think that I got 40 amazing people from this community. And one common thing with all of you is that you're all doing great things for the community. It's not like someone that is highly accomplished. You're doing things that are amazing. So I was like, if all of these people meet, something fantastic just has to happen from this group. So having everyone, of course, you know, because of the pandemic, we didn't have all women meeting, but we had a good amount of you showing up. And I mean, like, it's easy for me to see from the artist's point of view that, you know, like, it's a beautiful exhibition and the location is absolutely fantastic. Couldn't be luckier with the time frame, because after all, we launched on Women's Month. So that was perfect. And then I got to hear all of your responses to seeing your paintings in, like, for the first time in person. And I tried to interview each of you. And I had like this list of questions I wanted to know. And by the fourth, I was in tears. I was like, I can't take this anymore. It was so emotional, but it was amazing just to see how happy, you know, all of you were. It was great.
You said, you know, in the beginning that you were fueled by someone telling you what you can't do is what caused you to do this project. So what do you hope that in the coming month, when people come to the gallery and see these women and see your work, what do you hope that people take away and feel like they can do after they look at your art?
Yes, that's the biggest goal, especially because I specifically chose women that are in the community, because I didn't want it to be kind of like, you know, it's a celebrity from Hollywood, someone that is not accessible. I want it to be women that could be your neighbor. So it's people that are accessible. So if you know that someone that you know, or someone you know, like it's a short range. So it's achievable. You know, you see someone that is so close to you doing amazing things, then what can you be doing as well? So that's what I wanted to send a message, and especially for the girls, like, they have so many inspiring stories and things that they are not aware that they could do. Like, there's so many women like Janet in construction, even like the chef, Kimberly. Like, people think that, you know, like, you know, it's a woman's job, like, to be a chef. Not so much, and especially like she's running for president of the Food Association. And if you look at the history, it's like 100 years old association. You only have white male as president. So she said that she wasn't aware she could run for it. So when you think about this, you know, like, some people are just not aware that they could be doing something. So by hearing a story of someone that is doing something, you go like, oh my God, this is like, I can do something as well.
Right. And that's so well said. I can't wait to take my girls, because I hope they walk through those walls and say like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't know that I could work in construction, or I could be a boxer or an Olympic athlete. Like, there's so much that they just don't think about. I want to backtrack a little bit to how you got to this point, because I'm finding out information about you. I didn't know your whole story. So you're from Brazil, you're Brazilian born, and then you were in New York, you were in London. Tell me a little bit more about your history.
Oh, it's funny because people think that I was an artist from day one. And I do think that you were born artists, right? But I didn't believe I could be an artist do it for a living. So my formal education is marketing and advertising. I started working at the age of 15 agencies with my mom. And I got married.
Right? That helps with the art.
Oh, absolutely. I have the business mind, so that makes me not fall into the starving artist category. You know, I want to make my art work.
You're a smart cookie. I know that.
Thank you. So in my, I mean, like early 20s, I married an Australian and he got transferred to New York, New Jersey to be more specific. So we moved there and I was like, okay, I only hold an L2 visa. That doesn't allow me to work. I was terrified because I always wanted to be an independent person. But at the same time, I said, okay, I have the opportunity to go study what I really love. So I went to the Art Students League. And that was 20 years ago, and I've been a full-time artist ever since. After New York, we transferred to London, and we're there for another few years. Then we got divorced. I moved back to Brazil, but then, you know, my path was already set, so I wouldn't give up on art again. So here we are.
Here you are. I want to add in too, you forgot the part you were the resident artist at a Buddhist temple?
Yes, that is correct.
Where was that?
Back in Brazil, of all places. Like when I went back home, I'll say I was in a very sad place. I was really depressed, and I was trying to find light again, to be honest, just like looking for something good. So I came across this Buddhist group. And I wasn't even Buddhist, you know, I just decided I wanted to do some meditation and, you know, like find some peace. Yeah. And the teacher, she invited me, she said, listen, we're needing an artist because we're constructing the temple and we could do with help, painting the walls with all the traditional stuff. And we have a Tibetan artist that is here for that and you can be his assistant. I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. So of course, you know, I had no family to care for, you know, but I was single, didn't have children. So I jumped right in and I was, you know, full-time volunteer for 4 years, just, you know, like devoting 100% of my time to doing things for others. And it was an absolutely amazing experience.
I can't even imagine. What would you say is the coolest or favorite project you've had in all these years? Is it this? Like a Girl?
Besides, yeah, I would say like I could talk about Like a Girl because it's a project that is really dear to my heart, and I see this as like the highest point in my career so far. But I do have a fun little project that happened many years ago when I was in London, just because it really made me feel like I was a professional artist. At the time, my ex's boss, she hired me to paint her portrait with her daughter. But the thing is, she would fly back and forth from London and Austria because she was from Austria. And so she flew me to Austria. I spent some time with her and her family. I painted the portrait. She took me to see all the amazing museums because I'm a huge fan of some Austrian artists like Egon Schiele and Gustav Klimt. So I got to see all of it. All paid for, and she still paid for the portrait. So I was like, that was such an achievement as an artist, you know, like someone fly you over and pay for everything. It's like, wow, that was fun.
That's when you felt like you made it. That was a pretty good gig. A couple more things before we run out of time. I want to talk about the details because you have an online auction that's going up, and I want you to tell people listening how they can go to the City Gallery, because with COVID and stuff, they're asking people to, everything's free, but they're asking them to like make the reservations ahead of time, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So the exhibition goes until May 2nd. And if you go to the City Gallery website, you can either book right online or you can call them and book your visit. It goes Thursday through Sunday from noon to 5. And if you have a group up to 10 people, you can book a private show, a private viewing Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Okay. And at the last weekend, in April, I am doing a fundraiser with all the portraits from this show. I am giving all of it to Women in Aviation, Girls on the Run, and the Y. So I'm splitting the proceeds to those three associations. And it's going to be held online. So I'm putting it together at the 32 Auctions website. We have the link for you on my website. And it's going to run from Thursday, the 22nd, to the following Sunday, which is like 25th, I think. Okay. I'm not good with numbers, but that weekend.
Sounds right. That's wonderful. And what a big heart you have that you're donating the proceeds of all your hard work to those organizations.
Thank you.
What is next for you? This seems like the crowning moment of your career, the City Gallery, 40 portraits, the buzz of Charleston, of the Low Country. Where do you go from here?
I'll say people may call me crazy, but I just applied for going to the moon. And you heard me right. There is a billionaire.
Wait, repeat that. Going to the moon.
Yes, there is a billionaire from Japan, and he's running this project. It's going to be the first commercial flight. He's taking 8 creatives to travel around the moon and back. And I applied for it. So who knows? Maybe I'll be going to the moon.
I mean, can we vote? Because if you don't people cast votes.
Oh, I don't know if it's going to be. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be up for votes, but I would love that. That is a dream. Like, I can't even begin to say.
How incredible. You never cease to surprise me. I forgot to mention, I think this is important too. You've taken all the portraits and you've made a book out of it. So if you can't get to the gallery, or if you're just so inspired, it's going to be a beautiful coffee table book. How can people purchase that?
It's all on my website, fercaggiano.com. I have a limited edition hardcover, and I'm signing every copy. So,
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
You know, I got one for my dad for Christmas, Fer.
Oh, nice.
It's a great gift. It's a great gift. Is there anything else you would like to add? Any inspiration for anyone watching or listening right now?
I would like to say something about talent, because people forget that talent doesn't have to be something palpable. Like, you know, people can see an artist as someone that has a talent because you can see a product coming out of it. But everyone has a talent. Let's say, like, another easy one to see is a doctor, is someone that is a surgeon. That person has a talent. Mm-hmm. But each person is unique. Each person comes with a singular talent, just waiting to be used. So doesn't matter if you think it's small or if you think it's big, you know, it could be just, you know, being a good friend, mm-hmm. or whatever your talent is. Listen to your heart and go live your passion. Bring it to the world.
Listen to your hearts and go live your passion. Bring it to the world. Fer, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Everyone who is not watching this podcast, you need to follow her on Instagram, Fer Caggiano. Also go to the website, fercaggiano.com, or just Google Like a Girl, Dare to Dream, and you have 20 listings right there that will come up for more information. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon. And you have been listening to the Voice of Charleston Women.
Thanks for spending time with Voice of Charleston Women podcast. Please like us and follow us on whatever platform you're using to access Voice of Charleston Women.